was trying to keep it together and saying I was sorry, and I was sorry what had happened, but I promised that I would continue to try and make people understand what had happened. I promised that I would try to continue speaking about what had happened. I just blathered and blathered and blathered.
I was desperate to speak to eyewitnesses of the shooting. One of my friends called and said, there's a load of climbers having a steak and having a few beers. Call them now.
Phone rang, and it was somebody called Kate asking about Chowu. And Phil said, I didn't see it, but I've got 2 British police officers here that did, Steve, and handed me the phone. And that was it. Name out, job out.
And I will be eternally grateful to Steve, because he was the first climber who would actually give his name, bear witness to what he'd seen.
Back in Romania, Sergiu Matai immediately went into the studio. His employer, Pro TV, fed the breaking story to the international news services.
The Chinese border guards opened fire on unarmed refugees trying to flee.
Chinese border guards on a nearby ridge appear to take aim and fire.
Within hours, Sergiu's shocking footage was making headlines all over the world. Millions of television viewers witnessed the atrocity for themselves.
China's state-run news agency said soldiers had come under attack when they...
部队的政策，我想中国边防部队的职责和任务是维护中国边境地区的安宁和安全。
They're shooting them like dogs.
It was the first visual documentation for 50 years of the way that Tibetans are treated in the border areas, this shooting in cold blood.
After a long road journey from Kathmandu, nearly 2/3 of the refugees who set out from Lhasa reached safe haven in Dharamsala, India. Amongst them was the man who hid in the toilet tent, Lobsang Chernden. Pulling together every scrap of visual evidence and personal testimony, Kate Saunders tracked Sergiu Matai to his home in Romania. She told him the good news. Lobsang Chernden had made it through alive.
Kate called me after a while, and she told me he made it. I was bouncing off the walls, man. I was bouncing off the walls. Actually, it's a crack in this wall. When I smacked the wall with my palm, a crack in another one there, and the other one. Yeah, I was like all over this place, man. I was happy as a dog. Thank you. That's what I said.
In 2007, Sergiu Matai received an Emmy nomination for his news coverage of the shooting at Nangpa Pass. Life changed for Luis Benitez. Although still guiding expeditions, Luis could not remain silent. Most climbers will privately voice concerns about the fate of Tibet, but few will risk their permits by speaking publicly.
In the 4 times that I've been on Choyu, I've never seen someone shot at before.
Haunted by the shooting, Luis was compelled to tell the story wherever he could. He put his own career in jeopardy, deeply dividing opinion in an industry that depends on its valuable business ties with China.
There was no choice. I kept seeing Dolma. I kept seeing the group of refugees running up the pass. And as I go, you just kind of feed it through your hand and give me slack, okay?
Luis took a break from the mountain guiding industry.
Just think it through. The pieces are there.
He now works as a senior consultant for Outward Bound Professional.
This is the story that I need to tell, and I'll never stop telling. And if I had to sacrifice a large part of what I did to do that, then that's a sacrifice that needed to be made.
Back behind the wheel of a police car in the UK, Steve Laws has no regrets for speaking out about the death of Kelsang Namtso.
It wasn't until I was back in England that I found out that it was a teenage girl. Because of the nature of the job, I've seen far too much death anyway. It was just a black shape in the snow. The children affected me more than that did.
Imprisoned without trial, 14-year-old Jamyang spent 3 months in a Chinese jail. But he would not be deterred. On his release, he dared a second crossing, this time by a different route. He made it to the safety of Dharamsala in India and the Tibetan community in exile.
When I finally crossed the border, I felt so happy. I knew I had made the right decision. It felt great just to be free.
Jamyang now goes to high school with Dolma. At last, they can get the education they were denied in Tibet. And like every new arrival here, they got to meet the Dalai Lama.
When I had my audience with His Holiness, my eyes were filled with tears, and my mind was filled with joy. Because of the ordeals I went through, I was finally blessed to be in the presence of my principal Lama.
His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, told me that Kelsang died for a good cause and would therefore have a special rebirth. This advice gave me tremendous strength.
One year after the shooting, Lobsang secretly brought his wife and young family safely into India. Meeting the Dalai Lama fulfilled his dream.
His Holiness asked, "Who was the guy who hid in the toilet?" I raised my hand and said, "It's me." Then I started to cry, bawling out loud. His Holiness just said, "Don't be afraid. This has happened many times before, but we never had witnesses. You can safely speak out to the world about your ordeal, but do so honestly."
Lama